This week, our country celebrated 100 years of women's right to vote. We visited the Anoka County History Center to learn the story of one woman's involvement in the suffrage movement. Anoka Peterson has her story.
One of the items that has been donated to the Anoka County Historical Society over the years was a calling card from an Anoka woman named Edna Bean. She was the daughter of the Anoka County Sheriff and went on to support the suffrage movement in New York.
But Edna literally left her calling card here, and that's what we have in the collection, is her calling card. And so we figured it was time to go and pay a visit and see what happened in that story in the meantime.
Edna graduated from Anoka High School and spent a year at Carleton College. Then in 1891, she moved to Chicago.
And that's where the newspaper world really kicked into gear. And she took on the journalism world, which was a man's world at that point. She changed her name from Edna to Theodora at that point and went by Teddy on her bylines, sometimes Ed, and just really started working with the women's rights movement and the suffrage movement.
12 years later, she moved to New York, getting a job at another newspaper.
She worked with the Morning Telegraph. The newspaper was noted for its theater and horse racing coverage. And over the years of working there, she was working with Ida Blair and Vera Whitehouse, who were other suffrage leaders in the time, and making sure their voice was heard and doing profile articles on them, as well as the actual organizational events, the actual movements.
In 1917, women in New York were granted the right to vote. It would be 3 more years for the entire country to receive that same right.
Making this real by bringing a name and a face out instead of just calling it the suffrage movement. I think by doing that, we're forced to remember that it was a fight and that the right to vote was given, quote unquote, but it was fought for. It was something that we don't understand now. Myself, who's never questioned the right to vote, other women that I know have never questioned the right to vote, to not have that ability, I think making sure that we have a name and a face to attach to the effort is an honor to them. And the fact that she left her calling card here in Anoka, that we literally have her calling card, it's only fair to go pay her respects and make that call back.
The suffrage movement led to the creation of the League of Women Voters. A leader of the local chapter told us this week that there's still plenty of work to do. An example, she said, is that only 30% of the Minnesota legislature is female. That is not representative of the communities that they serve.